Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making an ironing mat for my new ironing station. It shouldn't be hard at all. We just need the right material, a sewing machine, and the right measurements. If you don't have space in your studio for a designated ironing space, this is a really good option because it's basically a foldable mat and you can put it wherever you want. That means it stores really well and it comes out and you can put it on top of a table. Recently, I purchased this piece of furniture that's behind me. I got it secondhand on Facebook Marketplace and it's the IKEA Ivar. This specific piece is no longer available. However, they make something similar and I'll link it down below. I've actually been waiting a while to find this one secondhand, and the timing was perfect because I recently moved and I upgraded to a bigger sewing space. Also, full disclaimer, I was heavily influenced by Cool Stitches and the Crafterpreneur on this specific ironing setup, but I plan to go a little bit more in detail on how to actually make the mat and hopefully add some value to you so you can make an ironing mat as well. Okay, let's start by chatting about the materials. We're gonna need 4 different fabrics and I'm gonna talk about them in order from top to bottom. I'm gonna be using this plain twill on top and that's what I'm gonna be ironing on. Underneath that, I picked up interlining. This specific inner lining is called Insulbright. Then we've got quilting cotton up next, and at the very bottom is this heat resistant material, which should keep the wood underneath safe from burning. I plan to make these 3 materials one piece, and then the twill is just going to be a cover that goes on top. So if at any point in time the cover gets damaged, I can take the cover off, make a new one, and just pop it straight on. We're moving on to cutting our material now. The Ivar unit is 39 by 29.5. For these 3 fabrics that are going to make up the base, I'm going to cut those with no seam allowance. Then when I cut the twill, I'm going to add an extra 3 inches of seam allowance so that it can fold all the way under really easily. Just came back from a long break. I had a bad headache, and at some point I also spilled on my shirt, which is why I'm wearing a new shirt. But anyways, I've cut out all the pieces for the interior mat and I'm gonna show you them. Here's what it looks like right now. Everything is clipped together so that it'll be easy to stitch. As you can see, I have 4 fabrics in here. These 2 layers are interlining, this layer is cotton batting, and this layer is the heat protective layer. What we're gonna do now is straight stitch all the way around so it becomes one big piece. Alright, well, would you look at that? All 4 of those layers have been stitched together and now it's one big piece that fits perfectly in here. Now I'm going to use this mat to template out the cover that's made out of twill. It's essentially going to wrap around the whole thing with mitered corners on the bottom so it looks nice and clean, and then it's also super easy to take off. We've got our big top piece cut out and now we're going to make some mitered corners. We're going to start by folding each edge in about 1/4 of an inch and ironing it down. All the edges are now pressed in and I set the ironing mat back on top. What we're going to do now is mark a diagonal line from this edge to this edge. Now that I've drawn these diagonal lines on every corner, I'm going to take this piece off. I'm going to flip this over and match this line to the line on this side. Then we're going to sew a straight stitch all the way across. I've sewed down all the corners like we talked about. Now we're going to flip them inside out and it's going to make this really beautiful corner. I'm going to do that to all 4 corners and then I'm going to lay the ironing board inside of those corners. Here's what the mat looks like from the back side. This is going to be flipped over on top of the table and I'll show you what it looks like on the table. All right, and this is the finished mat on the table. Here's what it looks like all together. It fits really nice on here. This is what the underside looks like. As you can see, I ended up top stitching this just so that it would stay down and it looks nice and clean. I may end up making ties right here, so one will go off this side and one will go off this side, and then it'll tie down here at the bottom of the table and that'll just help secure it. But other than that, everything's done. It looks super nice. All right, we're all done. That was a pretty quick one. I hope you found it valuable. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more sewing content.